All right, I think we are live now. Yeah. So hey guys, I'd like to welcome everyone here to Bitcoin Trading Challenge. This is going to be more of an informal live stream than the previous live streams that I've done. This is just going to be a Q&A and a trading session on GDEX. So typically we do the 0.25 Bitcoin to 1 Bitcoin trading challenge where we, day trade altcoins. This one's just going to be using my GDEX account, so we're going to be scalping with this right here. So yeah, let's do the scalping. So looking at the market right now, even if I was trying to look into scalp now, I don't think that entering a long trade would be a great idea now, because if we just do a little bit look in this market. Sentiment doesn't look fantastic. We have that recent spike in sentiment, meaning we're probably going to have to go down first if we ever go up. And also order flow looks pretty bearish. As you can see, we've had a lot of buying here and also a high cumulative volume delta. So you can see here. This is the CVD, which was actually a tool that was added today by tensorcharts.com, which is super cool. I really need to talk about this more. It's this green line right here. Because I would say that this is probably my second favorite order flow indicator next to counters ratio, of course. So, yeah. Also, we saw a large market buy order here, as you can see. Yeah. So my tensor charts looks weird right now. My tensor charts never looks like this. It's because I went full screen and like I merged the two screens together, so it does something like this. But I think it looks kind of cool actually. But this is not the normal way that your tensor charts is going to look with the layout. And also this changed with the going full screen, and also the GDEX order book changed, but you just like change that here. Yeah. So to begin, I'd like to take any questions that you guys would want to ask. And when we do see a profitable scalping opportunity, I'm going to make I'm gonna hop right in the market. But I'm gonna want these questions to be more strategy related, as opposed to, I don't know, will OMG BTC moon in the next 10 days or something like that. Because I know I'm gonna get questions like that. So first of all, just to take a look at what we're looking at here for a potential scalp. Yeah, I think that we're probably in a downtrend too, Andrew. This is what I'm looking at with for those who like overlapping Fibonacci's. So if we do this and then we do, if I isolate this retracement, yeah, we have some confluence here, and also the 61 here. Can't see anything for some reason. Can you guys see the screen? Can you guys see, like, if you guys can see both screens, then comment that you can. If not, I'm gonna have to like change it around and redo it. So let me know if you guys can see it. Yeah, so like everyone else can see it. I don't know, man. So everyone's just okay. We get it. Yeah. Yep. Everyone can see it. I think it's just one guy who just like, I don't know, couldn't see it or something. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Definitely get it now. But yeah, so what we're looking at with BTCUSD on Bitfinex, the chart on the left is kind of cut off. I think, do you mean like this part? I think I had that issue last time too with the live stream, because I think I went full screen so I could see both the chat and the end price. But if it's really bad, I might just restart the stream though. But I think that it's like manageable. If it's really like terrible, then let me know and I might change it. With the the chat's kind of cut off. Okay, you guys should be able to see that now. Yeah, so what I'm thinking here strategy wise is that we're probably in a downtrend in a few major things. Let me just get rid of these Fibonacci's, because this is something, get out of this mode. This is something that probably a lot of you guys have noticed, but if you go in the 1 hour, and let's just disable volume so we can draw a fib. If we just do the not all-time high, but the recent high to the recent low, This is actually kind of cool. You can see that the 61.8. Oh no, not that high. Not low. This high and oops, this high and this low. Yes, the 61.8 actually had perfect resistance here, as you can see. So we had resistance at 6279.7 is the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement. If we go to the high here, the high was 9279.9. So the high was 20 cents away from this 20 cents above the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement up here. So that's just, I mean, that's just the power of Fibonacci's, to be honest. It's like it had a perfect touch here, as you can see, right? The perfect touch right here, and then price went lower. So, yeah. So in about, like, I'd say 5 minutes, I'm gonna talk about TensorCharts.com, because I know a lot of people ask me about the new updates that came to the site, and I think they're pretty cool. Because there's a new tool on TensorCharts that has just worked very well for me, and I've had 2 profitable trades today. I think partly because of the new tool, which is Cumulative Volume Delta CVD. Yeah, so I'm thinking that we're probably going to be going down. I'm looking at resistance to be I'm looking for resistance to be don't know why it's like show. Okay, top chat. Good. I think it just like got mad because of the spraying. Yeah, so I'm looking at some possible levels here for some support. I think that this one makes sense. Here, if we were to draw a Fibonacci from here to here, it's actually, the tool isn't VWAP. VWAP is great, volume weighted, the volume weighted average price for those who don't know, but it's actually something a bit different, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about the indicator soon. But this is my confluence zone of where I think price might reverse from. It's a 61.8. This one makes sense. So that's going to be major support down there. We also might see, maybe there are a lot of stop losses down here, and there's previous resistance here, so maybe we could get some kind of funny business around here. And I say that because this could have a lot of limit orders near it, and then this could have a lot of stop loss orders, so that might cause price to go down to here, then go back up potentially to here if price does go down. Then also we have the 1.618 to this. So I think that this is probably going to be the first support, or maybe the second support if we do go down. So let me just pop that guy there at 9174.5. Yeah. So those are my 2, I think, like major support areas. Just looking at Fibonacci's and not even like looking at like order flow or any like bias indicators, because just sentiment doesn't really look that good. I'd say like longer term it looks good, but it just doesn't really like look good now. So, all right, so I think we just got our first question. And if you guys really want to get your question answered, then I can promise I will answer all questions that are used with the Super Chat. Super Chat is just where on YouTube you attach a question, and then you just attach any amount of like dollar donation, and when you do that, it pops up on my screen, and I'll answer, I'd say 99.9% of questions that are asked in the Super Chat. So we had a question: what is your favorite timeline to scalp on? That you've noticed the least amount of false positives in relationship with indicators noise. I mean, asking about time frames can be really tough because everyone has a different time frame, and all time frame is just showing you the transactions that occur within that time window. I would say that well, the 0.01%, you'll never know. Yeah, back to the question from Felipe. I would say the 1 hour is pretty good, and I've heard a lot of success with other traders on the 1 hour. But yeah, it really depends on how you trade. The 1 hour can be pretty nice because it's a short term and a long term way of showing a good amount of price information. I like to use the 5 minute, and a lot of people say, hey, isn't the 5 minute too short term? Yeah, but when you zoom out enough in the 5 minute, it's similar to the 1 hour. You're just getting more detailed information. Especially if you scroll to the left, I mean, you're just getting more detailed information that you get from the 1 hour. But with any time frame, you're going to want to use multiple time frames, of course. I don't just use the 5 minute. I use the 1 hour, the 5 minute, and I use the 1 minute when I look at the order book to gauge supply and demand. But yeah, so now I want to talk about. Okay, before I answer that one from Eternal Mind, I want to talk about the new what a lot of people have asked about, this new update to TensorCharts.com, because this is pretty cool. And this is the two trades that I had success on today were because of this tool. So this green line right here is, yeah, well, 1 minute, I have to pitch in with this one. 1 minute I don't use, by itself. I use it for looking at supply and demand in the order book because it reveals more information than the 5 minute when you look at supply and demand runs, which I did a video on. So this green line is the CMV, the cumulative volume delta. So all that does is it tells me a cumulative amount of market buying minus market selling. So if you look here when I scroll over it, you can see CVDs popping up right there. It says 32, 33. That will sometimes turn negative because it's just the cumulative amount of both market buying and market selling data. To be honest, when you use CVD, this number is pretty irrelevant unless you use CVD on like a certain time frame. But what's really cool about the CVD and something that I'd recommend you guys focus on is this right here. So whenever you see a jump in CVD in the cumulative volume delta, that means that there's much more. There's a heavy amount of market buying relative to market selling. And the great thing about the counters ratio is that it gives us the ratio, but it doesn't give us the actual amount. So this counters ratio could be like up here, like extremely overbought, like 4.77, but there's no volume, so it doesn't matter, right? I mean, the volume here is reading like 62 and 42 and 7. That's just nothing. We only want to use the counters ratio when we're in average volume or higher volume. We don't really care too much when we get volume like this because that's just not enough volume. However, CVD doesn't have that issue because it's just a running total of market buys minus market sells. So what this can allow me to do is whenever I see a spike in the CVD, I look to sell because I see that a lot of retail is mass buying in. And whenever I see a move quickly downward, that's typically when I buy. So you can see here, if we just look at some violent spikes up and violent spikes down, then we see a violent spike down right here, right? And then price went up. We don't see any violent spikes. Nope, nothing here. A little bit here, and then price goes down. And then here we see a lot of market selling. And we see a large trades counter picking that up as well, and not surprisingly, price goes up. And I will say that I did buy here. I sold at a horrible price up here where I just sort of held the trade. But I did buy here earlier today. And what I saw was when I'd seen that price had gone upward and then went down to a Fibonacci retracement, I just looked at order flow and I saw this mass amount of market selling right here. You can also see that here on the counters ratio. A lot of market selling. But the CVD, the cumulative volume delta, we go from minus 300 down to minus 830. So that's like 500 Bitcoin being market sold, which, that's a lot of Bitcoin being market sold for this amount of period. And that's not just Bitcoin being market sold. That's 500 more Bitcoin being market sold relative to being market bought. So it's actually even more Bitcoin being market sold. So yeah, if you had bought in here, this would have been a great spot to buy in, just looking at the CVD. And then we begin to see some spikes here, and this is where I took profit around here because I just saw these spikes and it would have been a fine place to probably take profit. And then you see this like final last spike up to here with a high CVD. And then price has to go down. And now CVD is continuing to rise. It's not spiking up violently, which would indicate that price will likely shoot down. But it is continuing to rise, which typically is not a great sign when price is going flat. You want to see CVD slowly rising with price. I mean, when price is rising, you want to see CVD slowly rising too. You don't want to see CVD spiking. That's a pretty bad sign. So if we look at something like, we can use, they also improved their connectivity to exchanges too. So it's like updating super quickly, which is dope. If we look here, I think this is a good example. Yeah, no, that's actually a terrible one. CVD, I just used the 0, it's just the default. So here you can see that we just had CVD slowly, just steadily rising. And this is what you want to see for an uptrend. We don't really want to see CVD dropping, like falling, as price is rising, indicating a lot of market selling, but price goes up. But we just don't want to see spikes. So stuff like this is going to indicate to hold the trade because, you know, many markets sold and the price didn't really go down. And then you probably want to sell when you get those spikes there. But yeah, so you want to see these just beautiful. I mean, this is great. You can see just how much market selling had occurred on this down move. A lot of retail traders were market selling and believing that this was going to turn into a downtrend. As you can see here, we go from a 1500 CVD, so 1500 market buys relative to market sells, one minus the other. We go down to, geez, minus, almost like minus 3,800. So that's a lot. That's like 5,000, I think. Bitcoin being market sold relative to being market bought. So that's, I mean, that's a really good sign to buy. And, you know, this would have been a great spot to buy in. Probably the best. So yes, that's just a quick spiel on the new indicator that just landed on TensorCharts.com, which is the cumulative volume delta. I tried playing around with the other settings for CVD, like using like a 10 or using like an 100 for the CVD, and I found it just wasn't as helpful as using the 0 for CVD. And I think it's down here, or maybe it's not even showing. Oh no, settings. Yeah, so these are my settings for those who are curious. Yeah. This is what I use. I don't love to use, I mean, VWAP is great, but I don't really love to have it overlaid here. And SR levels are great, but I don't really like to have like 20 of them. But more importantly than having like 20 SR levels, I think we just got a super chat. Sweet, yeah, no, thank you so much, Reese Ringnold, for your $5 super chat, and I will absolutely do that. For those who don't know, Reese and I did an interview that's on my channel. It's in the I think I put it in my interviews playlist or miscellaneous playlist. And yeah, you guys can go check that out if you want to watch the interview. But let's answer your question on using CVD for FUSD. Okay. So it looks like with Bitfinex FUSD. So I first want to say that these yellow lines that you guys see here that, you know, sometimes turn blue, that's just going to be the previous high limit orders. So if they're above price, they would be offers. If they're below price, they would be bids. So we can see that there's a lot of offers up here, indicating a lot of large presence to limit sell, as you can see here. Okay, so CVD on this. Well, before we even look at CVD, I'm seeing a large amount of market buying relative to market selling, looking at the counters ratio here, which typically is not a great sign, as you can see here. So this doesn't look particularly bearish at the moment, as you can see here. But if we look at CVD, we can find some pretty good spots, but it just doesn't look as good as it did with Bitcoin, of course. I mean, you can see beautiful drops like this. This drop actually occurred where price was going up, and then with this just one little simple move, we had a large shakeout of many retail traders, and price just continued to move up. But at the same time, we had a large amount of market buying, but price continued to move upward to the tail. So I'm going to answer that question one sec. So yeah, so to like finally answer your question on, I think it's not your fault that you've been staring at Finex FUSD tensor charts and keep getting it wrong, because it doesn't really look like it's been behaving too well. And the reason why you might wonder is, okay, so why does CVD not work as well on this coin but works well on the others? Well, it's going to work well on Bitcoin because Bitcoin's the leading coin, and many other coins are just going to follow Bitcoin's movements, more or less. I know Bitcoin Cash did not today, but yeah, like what Trip said, I'm going to use CVD just for BTCUSD. Not going to really want to use it for FUSD, BCH USD, and other types of coins, because Bitcoin's just going to dominate all over these other coins. Yes, 0 is as close as possible to tick data. So yeah, okay, so for new viewers here, CVD is cumulative volume delta. What this tells us when the setting is at 0 is the running total of market bought Bitcoin relative to market sold Bitcoin. So in a period, like let's say that over 100 periods, 100 Bitcoin have been market bought, 50 have been market sold, CVD would be at 50. And what it does is it's this line that just shows us the history of those deltas. And someone asks, what does the input settings actually do? And I know this person's on my Discord. It's Cubizzle, right? Yeah, so the CVD input settings, well, if you put it at, you can't put it at 1, that wouldn't make any sense. But if you put it, like, let's say at 2, it would take the last 2 periods and then it would just subtract them. The market buying versus market selling of those periods. So, if you get 2 periods, so 2 candlesticks, like here, and here, and let's say that both were market buying of, let's say one was 40 Bitcoin market bought, the other was 70 market bought, then CVD would just be 110. So, yeah. I am on Twitter. I actually just sent out a tweet for doing the live stream. And I just did go sort of full-time. Well, yeah, full-time for the summer. And I'm actually trying to get an office right now in Chicago, in downtown Chicago. So I'm looking at a few spaces. So yes, that's what CVD is, to answer your question, Realworthy. It's just going to show us a good way of tracking the market buying relative to market selling. When we see large drops in CVD, that's typically going to indicate we want to buy. When we see large jumps, that typically indicates that we want to sell. See it here? Massive jump in CVD, and price doesn't really go too high relative to how much jump we had in CVD. You want to sell here. This is an even better example. Price goes down. Really doesn't go down that much, but we get a violent drop in CVD. You probably want to buy here. Now, it does have to be said that if CVD is jumping like this, but there's also strong price momentum, then price might just continue moving upward. What's more important with CVD in the spikes of market buying and market selling is how much price goes up. And also what's important is for those who like to trade against trader stop losses, this is a method that you could use to try to trade against trader stop losses. Because you can see here, potentially some traders put their stop losses below this support here. Price hit that exact level, and then we had this, a lot of market selling. So I think I'm going to make a video in the future that talks about using CVD to stop loss hunt. So for those who've seen my videos on hunting other trader stop losses, what we basically want to do is find pools of liquidity. So typically a little bit below support or a little bit above resistance is where a lot of market buying and market selling will occur, because stop losses execute as market orders. And typically when price breaks above resistance, retail likes to mass market buy. So these can be spots where we typically actually want to sell using a limit order. And we can do that with CVD here, even just for a quick crash course on that. I mean, like right here, we're hitting, it looks like we're not just hitting a lot of stop losses, but we're getting a lot of market selling because traders are panicking. And as they panic, you can see that that tail goes down, hits a lot of them, and we have a red counters ratio. I mean, this is just like a pretty beautiful opportunity to try to buy into the market right here. And then just sell whenever you see a spike in CVD. So it'd be like either here, that would be a fine place to sell. Spike in CVD, here, that'd be a fine place to sell as well. Here, spike, here, spike. So, yep, so that's CVD, the new indicator on tensorcharts.com. So now I think I've talked a lot about order flow and a little bit on Fibonacci's. But my most recent videos were on supply and demand runs. So if you guys have any questions about the supply and demand runs, I think I can take them for the next few minutes before we move on. So basically what we're looking at is two things: trying to get an order filled, because sometimes on GDAX you're not going to be able to get your order filled when demand is high. You're actually going to want to get your order filled when supply is high, when a lot of people are selling. So you can see here, it'd be kind of hard to get my order filled if I did something like this. And then, place buy order and try to get my order filled here. That'd be pretty tough because I'm in queue. So I have to wait for 14.9 Bitcoin to be market sold to before, I get market sold to. So understanding the supply and demand dynamics of the order book can be pretty important. So I want to show it on both GDAX and also on Bitfinex here, as you can see. As laggy as this is. I do not trade on BitMEX. I don't trade on BitMEX. I just don't like to do futures. I just don't trust myself with trading margin or trading futures with high leverage. I just like to get rich slowly and not die a painful, quick death of 100x shorting Bitcoin at like 5K or something. I mean, like 6K or something, you know, just and then getting liquidated. So, yeah. Yeah, so it's so weird that like the whole screen is like different because of the way I set it up. So like the bids and the offers are down there, and then we have like order history up here. But one thing I do like to do before I answer this question here, I'm going to change this. It's typically a 2. I like to change to 0.5. It's going to make the order book refresh much faster, giving us better information. This is the depth chart for those who don't know. It's just a visual representation of the order book. So looking at the Bitfinex order book here, I'm curious what you guys say about the supply and demand runs here. I think that we see, well, currently we're at equilibrium where price bounces between supply and demand before probably demand will win out. But this isn't really a spot that I want to buy into, you know, using GDX, no fees, because I think that price is likely to move downward soon. Potentially we get a up move, a 61.8 up move of this. You know, let me show that on the screen here before we get that. Potentially we get a move like up to here, and then price goes down, or just price goes down immediately. I mean, both would make sense. However, I think that if we breach this high, I think that would be actually pretty bullish. I don't think that would be stop loss hunting. I think that would just be the continuation of a bull run. And if sentiment's falling, if this begins to fall and price actually breaches here, then yeah, we're probably just gonna continue going up. But I think that maybe a boom to boom, or like just a boom downward. All right, so now to answer the question here. Curious to hear your input on it. Shorts dropped a lot, less squeeze, bid, support now. It seems low volume triangle on one day. All right, let me pull up the 1 day for you. All right, so looking at the 1 day, you said shorts dropped a lot. So what I actually have is long percent. Let me actually just pull up the other guy here. So this is going to tell me the longs and the shorts, as you can see. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna make this super red. It's gonna be more detailed. Yeah, I'm gonna look at sentiment here. All right, so let's go through this. Disable volume. So to begin, it looks like we had a rapid fall off in the big move of 1600 was the massive sweep. Well, it looks like we had a rapid fall off in long sentiment here that instigated the uptrend. You can see some tails here that probably stopped out retail traders. We then moved upward, and as we moved upward, it looks like long sentiment was actually continuing to fall. Short sentiment was rising as price went down and then spiked, not surprisingly, right at the market bottom, right here. This is where many shorts entered the market. And then after that, we begin to see both longs and shorts dropping. Typically, when longs and shorts are dropping out of a trend, that usually means a reversal, because you need, whoa, something big just happened on Bitfinex. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull that up soon. I just noticed something in the order book that just changed. So yeah, so all I was saying here is that when price moves upward, but longs and shorts are both moving downward, that typically means that there is not high interest in the trend, you know, demand for the trend. So that typically means the price will go down. However, if longs and shorts are moving upward with price, typically that means that there's high demand for the trend and price will continue. So just going off that sentiment rule, this looks like it might not continue as of current. But I do need to show you guys what just happened here before I do this. We just had a crazy move on Bitfinex that maybe I want to trade into. But okay, I'll show you guys. So we have this move here. I was actually just like talking about this like a minute ago, what was happening. Sentiment spikes, that's not fantastic. But I want to see how this plays out and if we can actually break the high. You think you should just take your losses in TRX? You've been stuck for 24 hours. I know, random question. Less interest, yeah. Yeah, that's basically what you want to look for, of interest in the trend. And interest in the trend is going to come from those who make money in the trend, you know, those in profit, but also those who are becoming trapped in the trend. All right, so let's talk about what just happened. Let's go take a look at the order book. Because one really important thing about supply and demand dynamics, or whenever you see a large move occur, that could be a move below support, that could be a move above resistance, that could just be a strong momentum move or even a low momentum move. What you want to notice is the immediate supply-demand reaction to that. So if you see that a lot of bids are piling up and then price makes a move like this, typically price will go higher. But if you see price make a high tail and you see many offers just clamping price down, typically that means that price will just go lower. So let's take a look at the order book. So currently the Bitfinex order book was, is quite bullish, as you can see. I know that wick isn't healthy, but if we can see strong enough demand, then it'll probably just continue going upward, as I just said. Do we want to buy into this though? Okay, so it looks like we have high demand here. We're probably going to get a demand run. Price will likely just continue moving upward. High market buying. Okay, here, yeah. Okay, so what we want to see here is if we want to buy into the trend, we're not going to. We probably can't buy into the trend now because demand is too high. You know, if I put a limit buy order, it probably wouldn't be filled unless demand began to fall off and supply began to increase. So what we want to see if we're going to buy into this is a strong bullish move upward on above average volume, not volume spike, but above average volume and strong momentum, and then a slight small move downward, and then we can buy right in and target much higher values. But until I see that, I'm not going to just buy into here like a retail trader or something. No offense to retail traders who just market buy, but market buying is not really my way to go. But yeah, so I think that demand still looks high. I think that, yeah. The only thing that I think might turn bearish is if you see demand equal to supply. So what I mean by that is I don't really care about these as much. What I care about is the most current market rate, because these can be spoofing. This can't as much. So if you see that there are, let's say like bids, let's say that like there's 20 Bitcoin to be bought and 20 Bitcoin to be sold, like 20 bids, 20 offers. That would be called equilibrium. So what we would look for is, let me go here and actually show the thing. What that would actually look like is with prices going up and then reaches that kind of point of where there's just as many Bitcoin being bought as there is Bitcoin being sold. Typically, more often than not, that is going to be a reversal, because what that represents is high demand for the trend, high demand for the trend, high demand for the trend, and then that demand actually eventually reaches supply. And when demand reaches supply, typically that's going to be when the price reverts back and then supply takes over and then price goes down. So that's what we're looking for here. We want to see how much supply and how much demand we have. It looks like they're about equal, to be honest. We have I'd say we have about equal supply and demand. Price is slightly going upward. Let's take a look at the GDAX order book. Yeah, so it looks like this is a perfect example of what I was just talking about. It looks like supply is just equal to demand here. We have just as many bids as we do offers, as you can see here. And trade history has been quite bullish. A lot of buying. A lot of buying means typically there will be a lot more buying in the short term. If people are buying now, they'll probably be buying in the next 10 seconds. And if people are selling, they'll probably be selling in the next 10 seconds. So it looks like we're dominantly buying. And we're in a dominant buying trend, so that could overtake the 92.10. So yeah, I would say that this looks to be about equilibrium. We might get a demand shift where demand breaches supply and then price goes up. What I'm more interested in is not GDAX, it's Bitfinex, because this is the leading rate. So what I see here is that price still looks like it's having high demand here. So we might want to actually buy into this. Not yet, but soon. Like someone else out here. Okay, someone asked about TRX. Like, I'm actually super curious about what happened with TRX BTC. So let me go to that. God, just the charts are just so ugly, though. Like, look at this. Okay, we're gonna have to go in the 1 hour for this guy. Is TRX traded to USD? Oh, it is. Ouch. Okay, so you said you got into TRX BTC on Binance, I'm assuming. Well, this looks quite bearish to me. Sorry to say, whoever bought this clockwork. Yeah, so just on the 1 hour, this looks pretty bearish. And the reason I say that is, well, here's what I see. I see a 61.8 being respected here, and price isn't really able to even breach that or close above that without any tails. And then I see just lower volatility. That's why price is moving a bit less. The one saving grace that you do have is that you're currently at a 61.8. But it looks like that the 61.8 has been confidently broken. Unless you can reason that this is a stop loss hunt, and you might get like a 4-point stop loss where you get like, or no, that'd be a 3-point stop loss reversal. So like L1, H1, L2. If you think that's the case, I don't know. This just momentum-wise, this looks like momentum favors the bears rather than the bulls with TRX BTC. But yeah, I keep looking up at the Bitfinex order book. I know TRX is just, yeah. I'm more interested in like the bigger altcoins, like stuff like these. When is best to buy after a supply run in the order book? Well, actually, let me answer that first. Okay, Joe. Still looks like we have high demand here, but let me just first answer this question. I'm going to answer one other question more. Okay, let's use the GDAX one. When is best to buy after supply run in the order book? Well, after you see a supply run, so that's going to be something like this. This is known as a supply run, where you're getting a large amount of selling, and then the offers are clamping price down. So what that means is that there's going to be a moving offer wall. So as price moves down, the most current offer, which is like right here, is going to continue moving downward with price, and there won't be a lot of demand. There won't be a high amount of demand, meaning that there won't be many bids, because if there were many bids, it would probably be pressing price up. So actually the best spot to buy if you want to scalp, if you want to trade in the 1 minute or just get your order filled, is you don't want to try to buy during a supply run. You want to try to buy at the end of a supply run. And in order to do that, what you need to do is wait for a pause like this. So here we had equilibrium where supply was higher than demand, right? Supply is higher than demand and price goes down. But then we get an equilibrium point where supply is just about equal to demand and price isn't able to go one way or the other. It's spots like these that are not bad spots to just put a limit buy order out and to try to target a higher price here. So I would say that is the best way that you can buy after a supply run, is just wait for price to go down and then pause for a little bit, and then that might be the end of the supply run. So something about BFX LS 100. Yeah, so I just use the percent. I use this second one here. That's my settings. Okay, you want me to explain? So question here, can you explain the long short tool that you use? Sure. So I get a lot of questions about sentiment. So there are four indicators here. This is gross longs percent, gross shorts, shorts percent. So what that means, I mean, this one's basically useless because it's just the inverse of long percent. This is just going to tell us the amount of margin Bitcoin being used on Bitfinex to go long. And this is going to tell me the raw amount of Bitcoin borrowed, as you would say, to go short. So basically, just in a sense, these are the shorts and these are the longs. And how do you use the long short tool? Well, you want to, the best spot to buy is after everyone has already sold. So that's going to be when shorts have already mass sold and when longs have already mass exited, mass sold as well. That's going to be a really good spot to actually buy in, because we don't want to really buy in after everyone has bought and after all the shorts have exited. That's actually not a good sign. So an example of what that would look like, let me just show you. I think we had a good example in the 1 hour here, even though it looks bad here. So yeah, so here's one. So you can see here that longs, this is the raw amount of longs. Longs were dropping quite quickly, but shorts were increasing. So this whole range right here is just indicating it's a strong buy because sentiment just looks so good. So many retail traders are using margin to get out of their positions, the long positions, or to enter into short positions, or even to do both, enter long to go immediately into a short. And that's a pretty good sign for us because every trade has to have one counterparty, and typically that counterparty to retail is going to be institutions who usually use limit orders and don't use margin. So we just basically, to summarize, do the opposite of what other retail traders are doing, and this gives you a pretty good way to do it. I use the long percent because I find it's more helpful. in the short term, just because this just groups together the longs and shorts together. And you can find things like this where sentiment drops off and we buy, or even here, price is going up, and then on a weak retracement, retail freaks out and they all sell. And then, not surprisingly, price continues to go up. Happens again here. Retail mass buys in here, look, here to here. And then retail mass sells here, from here all the way down to here, and price goes up. And then here and down to here, we get a drop in sentiment. So that price is going up right now. So yes, that would be for, that's how you use BFXLS 100. But what I'm really interested in is what is going on with this right here. Are we in a demand run? Or are we in a supply run? Or what? Well, it looks like we had a volume spike with that high tail here. We're not able to break this tail on high momentum. So as of now, that's not a great sign for the bulls. And again, I don't think I want to buy into this. I really do want to buy and make this a trading session, but this just doesn't look good. I mean, honestly, famous last words is like price breaks resistance, But I mean, even if price does break resistance, buying now would probably not be a good idea. I think we'd see a retracement first before price goes up, if it does, go up. But I would say probability-wise, I think we're more likely to break support than we are to break resistance, just from a probable standpoint. So let's talk about, just the order book here. Yeah, so I would say GDAX is just about at equilibrium. I mean, demand's not higher than supply. Supply is not higher than demand. Yeah, we have more bids here. We actually have a lot of market buying, so maybe I take that back. Demand might be high because that high market buying might overtake these rates here. Well, this is going to be interesting. How high is price going to go if it breaks 9209.99 with demand? Yeah. Okay, so here it's going. It looks like we have a very weak order book going upward. We just have no offers because the Bitfinex rate's at 92.57, so GDAX naturally might want to meet that rate. So yeah, it looks like we're in a demand run right now. We were at equilibrium here after a demand run, but now we're just continuing upward. I use Poloniex. I don't use Binance. No, but Binance is fine. I think I made an account with them like a few months ago. But I just kept using Poloniex because you can trade on TradingView with Poloniex is really cool. And for those who don't know, they just reduced their fees. Poloniex did from 0.25, 0.15 to 0.2, 0.1, which is really nice. Okay, so we have gotten a strange pattern here. Actually high demand to the upside. So this actually does look quite bullish right now, even though we had this strange like shooting star. I actually don't margin trade on Polo. No, I'm not really a margin trader. It's never really been my thing. So yeah, so it looks like high demand. So if this is high demand, what I'm just going to do is just wait for a supply run, wait for price to begin to come down, and then just buy. If I want to target a higher price, I mean, and make money that way. Or that's option one. Or option two is just don't do anything here and just let the market just go down. But I'm gonna look at tensor charts here. Yeah, this just, I mean, doesn't look good. Price is in a short-term demand, high short-term demand, but just some issues here. And what we've looked at before is when CVD spikes to the upside, cumulative volume delta, it's May 14th. May 14th or May 15th that Poloniex changes it to 0.1, 0.2. They haven't changed it yet. I mean, we just had a spike in CVD here. We have counters ratio at about 3, so 3 times market buying for market selling. And we see a volume spike here. So what that tells me is that price might trap buyers. I mean, maybe we go up here to fill institutions, limit sell orders as retail just mass market buys into the market here, fills institutions, limit sell orders, and they dump the price. Or we just go above this resistance here, pick up some liquidity from retail traders market buying in, and then just dump down. So I think those are like the two scenarios here. Thank you, Joe Pietra, for the $20 donation. That's very kind. I think you asked a question back about the supply run. Yeah, about how the supply supply run turning into a demand run? That's a good question. So yeah, so just looking at the current market, I can't really see myself buying into this. Maybe we go up to go above resistance, then go down. But if we just look in the very short term, it looks like we're beginning a supply run, right? The offers are much higher than the bids. We're not really getting that much bidding pressure, right? And if we look at trade history, this should be a lot of red. Okay, we're actually seeing a lot of green, so still a lot of market buying. If this begins to get very red, then that would be a sign that price is going to go down. But yeah, it seems like we have high supply on GDX. Let's take a look at Bitfinex. So the order book on Bitfinex looks the order book on Bitfinex looks, I think, like relatively equal. We're just not getting a lot of asking pressure, also as offering pressure to the downside, and we're getting decent demand. Yeah. What was your question again? I think Eternal Mind, you asked about like 3 favorite trigger indicators. I think that was it. I'm going to talk about that in 1 sec. I'm just looking at the supply demand here. Huh. I mean, this is a bit of a tough puzzle to solve. I just think that we're either going to trap more buyers and then go down, or we're just going to go down to pick up some liquidity. And if price does continue its uptrend, a healthy part of an uptrend is a retracement to take out weak, they're called weak hands, and so that strong players can enter and accumulate positions. So what that would probably look like is if we just not randomly, but just shot down very quickly like this, convince a lot of retail traders to market sell or hit their stop losses, and other traders to even short, then what might happen is actually price might actually begin to climb back upward. As sentiment has turned quite bearish, everything has turned quite bearish, and then price just continues going upward. So I think that could be a scenario. But after we just hit the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement of this overall downtrend, like on the nose, it was 20 cents off. I feel like this is not, this just doesn't look fantastic. Looks like something's a bit wrong. Exactly. I'm thinking of buying the dip. And the dip's probably going to curve here. I did this at the beginning of the stream where I labeled this spot and this spot as 2 likely support areas where one could enter. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if price comes down to here. I'm going to enter trade. If it does, what's going to be really interesting is if price very quickly just shoots right down, we get a very strong supply run where just retail just gets mowed over and price just, no holds barred, just crashes. Then I might actually enter. As crazy as that sounds, because that could be a big fake out. And if I see price going down quite quickly, but I see CVD just collapsing, sentiment falling, counters ratio at like -3 or higher or lower, and then also at the beginning of a demand run, like that combination is going to be quite bullish. So that I'd enter a trade there. Okay, so someone had asked me before about 3 favorite trigger indicators, which is important. So for those who haven't seen the video on it, I made a video called Bias Trigger Execution. So you have 3 types of indicators, and you can use these 3 types of indicators together for your trading strategy. And the reason to do that is you don't want redundant indicators. You don't want, I don't just use all sentiment. I don't use just all like MFI, RSI. I don't use just those. I don't really use many of those anyway. You want to have some balance. So a bias indicator is like sentiment. A bias indicator is the order book, order flow, CVD, stuff like that. Just basically tracking the price formation, the more psychology of the market. Trigger indicators are like MFI, RSI, MACD, just traditional technical indicators. Execution indicators give you an exact price to execute at. Those are Fibonacci's, volume profile, order book somewhat, and support and resistance levels that give you exact spots to enter. So 3 favorite trigger indicators. Okay, so if I'm gonna make like a tier list, if I was on a desert island trading BTCUSD and I had no knowledge of Fibonacci's and I had no access to order flow or any advanced sentiment methods and couldn't look at CVD or volume, and I had to use 3 trigger indicators to get off the island with this hypothetical, I would pick MFI, because because that would give me volume and momentum analysis. I would pick. Oh, this is a hard one. I would say MFI ATR, average true range. MFI ATR and my third indicator. Let's see here. DMI, yeah, for sure. Definitely DMI for number 3. So that would be the answer. The desert island, have to trade Bitcoin for some purpose, and to get off the island, I have to triple my account. And on my 3 technical indicators, MFI, they give me volume and momentum. Then we do ATR, which is going to give me volatility, so I can know a lot of things about volatility. And then the third thing that I would use would be DMI, and DMI would show me trend strength. So that combination would help, because I could use MFI to get overbought, oversold, so that I could position myself when DMI was bullish. So when we're in an uptrend, I could buy a retracement by using MFI, looking for MFI to be oversold when we're in an uptrend confirmed by DMI. And then I could look for ATR moving with the trend, and then look for ATR spikes to look for spikes of volatility, kind of like volume spikes. So that's my desert island theory. All right, so on to the next one with the next question. So sorry for caps. You need to check FUSD now, Bennett. All right. Oh, Lord, yeah. You're right, Reese. You're definitely right. I do need to check FUSD. I'm going to talk about the difference between MFI and RSI soon. That's a funny comment. Mephisto goes out. So, to be honest, I think I'd said earlier on the stream that just Ethereum USD's CVD just isn't helpful in the slightest, right? Because CVD is spiking like crazy. We have crazy counters ratios. I would just kind of ignore FUSD order flow. Just use BTC USD order flow. So going off that, I mean, Ethereum. I mean, my God, man, you're right. Let's actually take a look at the Ethereum order book, because I think that, let's take a look at the Ethereum order book, because I know that that's going crazy. I'm expecting high demand. Yeah, so we have relatively high demand right here. So we have a pause in demand right now. So what this means is that we might get continuation of demand or a supply run. Market buying ETH. I think market buying ETH is a pretty bad idea right now. Limit buying wouldn't be too hard anyway. As you can see, price just filled some limits, so limit buy orders. Okay, where's demand now? So demand's not really, where are the bids? If the bidding pressure doesn't begin to pick up, this could just begin to fall. Okay, so that's the FUSD. So this is what Ethereum's doing for those who just joined. Ethereum is just going freaking crazy. So let's look at some long-term Fibonacci's before I enter this trade, because this actually kind of does look like something I do want to enter. We haven't even broken resistance yet to trigger a lot of liquidity up here with stop losses. We have high momentum. I'm hoping we see decent volume. Yeah, we see decent volume too. So we're looking at any major Fibonacci's here. No, doesn't really look like this is anything crazy Fibonacci-wise. Just oh, that's interesting. So the 61.8's at like 740, so price might go up to 740, 750. You think it's going to stop at 713, going past resistance? Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, so Ethereum does look like a definite candidate. I think I'm going to potentially even buy this with a limit order. Sentiment looks fine. I mean, this is A-okay. We're getting a fall in sentiment as price is rising. That's not surprising. Retail is going to just continue to get screwed over, as you can see. They're long sentiment dropping, price is going up. That's typically what you're going to see. We do see a spike in sentiment, which isn't fantastic. But price just like keeps just wrecking through these levels. My God. Yeah, so game plan for Ethereum. I could wait for the first supply run. So first, like mini pullback, I could try to buy in. And then I guess my stop loss would just be a low below that low. If price goes down to here, and then it goes up to here and I buy, my stop loss would be here. So just a tight stop loss. Looking at demand, let me just go to Ethereum, because I really want to see the Ethereum order book to see the supply demand here. Because this will make a lot more sense than looking at order flow, which can be kind of hard with Ethereum. Okay. Scalping strategy. Well, if you want to scalp, the first thing that you need to learn is the order book and to interpret supply and demand runs. That's how I started, and that's what I picked up recently. I would also say that for scalping, you should learn order flow. So what's very important in scalping is learning how to trade order flow, like CVD, encounters ratio, and volume. So that's how I would say you scalp. Yeah, this looks very bullish for Ethereum. Looks like we're getting a bit of supply coming into the market. So let's take a look at the order book here. So it doesn't actually look like we have that much supply. It doesn't look like this is actually a strong supply run, so price might just continue moving upward if we don't see more supply. All right? Let's look at the GDAX order book. Yeah, I mean, it still looks relatively bullish. I really actually kind of want to put a limit buy order here. It's so retail-y to do that, though, but Ethereum just looks great. This type of market will typically continue moving in that direction until it hits major resistance at probably a Fibonacci level. So at 705, we're seeing some supply, which could press price down if we begin to approach it. But I care more about the Bitfinex order book than I do with the this order book. Yeah, so Ethereum's going up here, as you can see, with the bidding and asking. So it looks like we have a bit of a supply run. Let's actually enter this trade. But first, before we enter the trade, we're going to have to use a Fibonacci to try to gauge what we're looking at here. So drawing this Fibonacci, and this is actually a good lesson here. Drawing the Fibonacci here is actually kind of tough because there's two main ways you could draw it. You could draw it like this, using minor support up to resistance here. Or you could, well, Bitfinex has more volume, more liquidity. So that's why it's much more important than GDAX, because there's just more activity on that exchange. Yeah, so is this market even going to retrace? I mean, if it doesn't retrace, I can't buy it, because I'm not gonna buy the market top. I can assure you that. Famous last words. Market buys at like 720. No, that is not happening. We're not going to go degen trader, not tonight. Another way that you could potentially draw this is like this. Makes sense. It's gonna have like ugly. Oh, actually not ugly at all. We have a decent confluence zone down to here. Yeah. Okay, so if price goes down to there, we buy. That seems like a pretty good plan. But that's being said that price doesn't breach the current price that it's at, which it might, unless we begin to see supply, which I don't see yet. I'm hoping that supply begins to pop up. Okay, there it is. Okay, that's interesting. This is a supply run that's trapping retail traders. This is what it looks like. So we have a large offer wall that's pressing price downward, and we're probably going to begin to see market selling, and price may continue moving downward unless that supply wall gets pulled, where it would be spoofing. But if the if the offer wall doesn't get pulled, then price is going to likely continue going downward. Oh man, that's not a good sign. I don't know if it got pulled, man, or if it just got market bought out of oblivion. As you can see here. Yeah, but order book can be asymmetric. I agree, but maybe I think it was market buying in combination with that. We don't want to see heavy market buying. No. That's the last thing that we want to see is heavy market buying. We want to see, if we want to buy in, we want to see market selling so that institutions are accumulating their positions and adding on to their positions. We don't want to see retail just, going ham and just market buying the crap out of this. That no emotions in trading, but that kind of hurts what just happened here. We're not in the market, but that's why. So price just went up to 710, and traders are just selling like crazy. So we have a volume spike here. This is not a great sign. Yeah, that's not a great sign at all. I would slightly disagree though with what you said on the order book, Eternal Mind. There are definitely ways that you can interpret the order book, and it's not always going to be manipulated. If you can gauge actual price movements, and that's why I talk about supply movements and demand movements. When price goes up, high demand; price goes down, high supply. Then that's actual price movements in combination with moving offer walls and moving bid walls. That represents actual demand and actual supply. So you can definitely use it. It's not just like something you would just ignore. God, we're just getting so much buying. It makes me want to do something that I'm not going to do. Hit that market buy button, but yeah, it's not. It's fine. I mean, it's actually kind of good in a way if we're getting strong bullish momentum, because when you see strong bullish momentum in a trend, typically that means that there will continue to be strong bullish momentum, so that when there is a price pullback and we buy in, we can continue to ride on that demand. Just the market just won't go down though. Oh my God. Well, this confluence zone is useless because price broke the high of the Fibonacci. All right. What's Bitcoin doing here? Okay, Bitcoin's still just doing nothing, as you can see here. Testing resistance, but really not doing too much. A lot of market buying though on Bitcoin. Much more interested in Ethereum anyway. Yeah, so there are multiple reasons why retail buying is not good. Two, the first reason is that, well, if retail keeps market buying, the price at the current moment probably won't go down because they're just buying it. And the second one is that there are only so many buyers who are going to buy into a trend to press the price upward. And when everyone who wanted to buy has already bought, that's going to be the trend reversal and price goes down. So if all the retail just mass buys into the market, then we try to buy, then we're buying after everyone else, and then that's going to be suicidal and price goes down. We want to buy before everyone else, and this clearly shows that we'd be buying after a lot of traders. But the question is, have we bought? Is there still demand in this market? Would we be buying with more present demand for price to go upward? And for that to happen, I'd first have to see at least consolidation like this, or at least preferably a retracement down to here, to previous resistance. But I think that when we do see retracement, it'll probably be very violent, which is something we might not want to even buy into. But we'll see. I mean, Ethereum might make a pattern that looks quite bullish, and we can get in, and then no worries there. But yeah, it just keeps printing new highs. That's phenomenal. Great. So I think we just broke resistance. No, so resistance here is, the high is 712. So when we break 712, we are breaking resistance, probably hitting some shorts, stop losses, and convincing retail to market buy. So if price does go here, and then price goes down, then it's probably going to really go down, because you're hitting lots of liquidity for market buying. So yeah, but this is interesting with Ethereum. I wouldn't mind seeing something like this, a move downward, and then a move back up to break resistance. Because the good news about trends like this, and ways that we can make money on trends like this, are that typically markets will not move in a V-shaped formation. So typically price doesn't go up and then just immediately come down like that. I know, famous last words. Price actually does that. But what usually happens is that price makes a high and then retests the higher, goes higher, consolidates. Things are a little bit more complicated than they sometimes seem. So price making a V-shaped reversal and then just shooting down is unlikely. What you'll probably see is a heavy retracement, and then you'll probably see one more, the high broken one more time to trap many retail traders, then price goes down. Okay, so we had a request for Elliott waves. Are we talking Ethereum or Bitcoin? Let me try to see if there's any Elliott wave theory on Ethereum right now. Yeah, so it does look like there is a potential. It does look like there's potential Ethereum Elliott wave theory. Let me actually just draw that here. We have a 61.8 retracement here, And now we have a strong momentum wave 3, as you can see here. 1, 2, 3. Typically wave 3 retraces 38.2%. I don't think wave 3 is done yet, though. Maybe retrace a little bit, but that wouldn't be the end of wave 3. So typically wave 3 is going to retrace 38.2%. And then after that we get wave 5, probably equal to wave 1. So what that would look like is if you use, it's hitting a lot of stop losses right now. A lot of short stop losses just got hit because we went above support, above resistance. Yeah, so what that would look like here if you want to use Elliott wave theory would be this. And then you'd put that on wave 5. I think I'm talking way too many Fibonacci's and order flow and stuff. I'll slow it down a little bit. Yeah, it looks like we have some resistance at 731. That would make sense. God, there's just so much demand for this trend. I'm curious what you guys think about Ethereum right now before it continues. Are we thinking just it's going to moon and just never retrace? Or do we think that it's going to retrace and then go up to trap buyers? As long as we see high volume, high momentum, it's going to probably continue. Like high volume, high momentum, high volume, high momentum. Not exactly there, but here, high volume, high momentum. Yeah, someone actually really did say 713 at resistance. That'd be crazy if 713 did become resistance, because I know someone had said that before. But I mean, how can you, like, as a buyer, how do you, like, when 81% of the volume has been market buying, that's kind of hard to buy into. 24 hours, 63%. Jeez. Okay, so a lot of market buying. We get it here. Are we seeing a supply run? Yeah. I'm not really seeing a supply run yet. This still looks like demand. So maybe we see consolidation with an up move. If we do see offers beginning to pile up, then yeah. But yeah, so let's hold that for a second. That's going to be interesting. Let's look at EOS, because I think someone had said EOS to Bitcoin. Okay, EOS is traded to the USD. Let's see. All right, so let me do analysis on EOS. Let's first look at the 4 hour. These were actually some confluence zones that I had drawn. Let me get rid of them. This one, let me show it again. That one actually did very well. Wow. I think I forgot about that one. And this one did well too. So a few things that I see here. Let's first look at the 1.618. I think we're past that. Yeah, we are. It's like almost parabolic for EOS. So drawing a Fibonacci here would be kind of tough because I don't see obvious low. The obvious low would be all the way down here, but that's not really a great Fibonacci retracement. What I do see, though, is this. Is this a 61.8? No, 50. Yeah, so typically markets like to retrace to a 61.8. So if EOS is doing something like this, let me just show it. If EOS is going to make a move like this, you know, with a, oh my god, Ethereum. Okay. Okay, Ethereum. That's lovely. I think when we started, when I started the stream, Ethereum was like here. So that would have been a pretty good scalp. So looking at EOS here, typically price likes to go to the 61.8 before continuing to go down. Maybe we get something like this. Maybe. But if we see enough supply, then that could push price lower. Or maybe we get like a stop out here. Price goes here to stop out some traders and to touch previous resistance, and then goes back up to 61.8. That would make sense. But I'm thinking that EOS could do something like this potentially. Not that deep, like that. Like an A, B, C, and then a continuation. That would make sense for EOS. If we go super short term, which is going to be, you know, a little bit harder to predict, but just EOS short term, that'd be kind of fun. Well, I think we just had the 61.8 was, I think the 61.8 was just breached, which typically means bearish continuation. Okay, no, actually it hasn't. EOS, if EOS doesn't break this area here, then it's probably bullish. I know that's a silly statement, but if price can actually begin to close above the 61.8, then this will probably just be a 61.8. Price will go high. So EOS looks good. Okay. Ethereum. All right, what are we doing about this? I said my game plan before. Is the Ethereum? I mean, I'm trying to find reasons for why. We had that announcement today on Ethereum by someone who predicted it would go to 15K. I think it's it was the co-founder of Reddit had said 15K Ethereum by the end of the year, which is just crazy. No, I'm not gonna market buy or like even limit buy in. I could limit buy into this pretty easily and get in like 718. But just we need to wait for a retracement. But like I said, this is actually good news, even though we're not even in the trend, because it's good news because if we begin to see a weak retracement, we can buy into that weak retracement, and demand will continue to go up. The typical Fib retracement ratio after wave 5, how do you determine where a correction might end? Well, when you're doing Elliott wave theory, you're going to be using this tool, not the Fibonacci retracement tool. You're going to be using this one here, trend-based Fib extension. And what you do with that is you draw on wave 1 and you isolate the distance of wave 1. And then you want to draw that onto either the origin, the beginning of wave 3, or the beginning of wave 5. So like let's say wave 3 is here. Typically wave 3 is going to be 1.618 of wave 1. And then let's say that wave 3 already happened, and then we're in wave 5. You would measure the distance of wave 1, and then what you would do is put that distance onto the beginning of wave 5. And the beginning of wave 5, of course, would be the end of wave 4, and that's how you would measure the final point for resistance. Yeah, I would agree. This is just parabolic. I mean, these kinds of price patterns, I said that usually V-shaped reversals don't happen. But this could, because if there's this much buying, there could be a vacuum of demand. And imagine that there's just no more bids. There's no more bids that's propping price up, and there's no more market buying because everyone's already market bought in. And what you could see is that lack of bidding and probably very high offers and many asks would just cause price to just do like something like that. And just trap many retail traders. So I think this is hilarious, honestly, with what's happening with Ethereum right here. Just it will not stop making new highs and just does not want to retrace to let us buy in. Well, I actually can't short. So, I mean, I don't think shorting Ethereum would be a great idea right now. You'd want to wait for confirmation. You'd want to wait for some kind of bearish movement before you shorted. But when you do find that bearish confirmation, and when price does begin to go down, shorting will probably be a really good idea. Price will probably violently go downward because everyone's already bought in. Everyone who wanted to buy is bought. A vacuum of demand and price goes down. I'd have to use USD Tether, which I don't love Tether, so I don't really want to do that. Okay, let's look back at the order book because I love the order books here. Okay, so GDAX demand is actually not that high. I mean, price in the other one at Bitfinex is I have to hide that one. Yeah, so demand for Ethereum is actually not that high in GDAX, but it's quite high in Bitfinex, as you can see. Bitfinex were up here, but GDAX were still down here. So actually, this is actually a spot that I really want to buy, because this is a spot that if I get market sold to, is anyone even market selling though? Because the only way that I can buy in with a limit buy order is if people market sell, and if no one's market selling, my order would just never get filled. But I can try to get my order filled here. 11 Bitcoin orders market sold to. Okay, but that's a lot of supply. That's a big offer wall. Okay. Now this is looking interesting with Ethereum here. I don't exactly know what you mean. Thanks for details on that tool. That helps, but What about finding where C might end after wave 5? Where C might end after wave 5. Do you mean an ABC sequence within another wave? Because I don't exactly know what you mean. I would just not even recommend using tensor charts with Ethereum. I would just use tensor charts with Bitcoin, like this. So it looks like we might actually get some distribution here. Price goes up to fill some limit sellers, and then price goes down. So that's what's happening. Okay, now this is getting interesting with Ethereum. Thank God we didn't buy. I was close. I'm going to be honest. I was close to placing a limit buy order to try to buy in, but this is just. I mean, do you guys see the drop from here to here? It's kind of hard to see. Let me refresh. God, yeah. I mean, like, look at that drop. Exactly what we were just talking about that very violent, quick reaction. The end of an ABC correction after an impulse wave 5. Well, with Elliott wave theory and with what Ralph Nelson Elliott put in the book written by Robert Prechter, is that after a 5-wave sequence, typically the ABC sequence ends at the 61.8 of the previous wave. So if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goes up, a certain distance, ABC, C wave usually ends at the 61.8 of that wave. So that's the answer. Okay, so yeah, let's see here. Well, if you have an account on GDAX, you can buy Ethereum right away. Oh my God! I mean, look at this drop. I mean, guys, to be honest, this is just the V-shaped reversal because the demand's gone. Everyone who wanted to buy has already bought. Because everyone who wanted to buy has already bought, price can't go higher. And Bitcoin's going down because we've distributed the position. What I talked about at the beginning of this session was looking at Bitcoin and looking how it might go actually a little bit higher and then go down. That was one of the scenarios that I had said. If you go to the beginning, where Bitcoin, I was thinking either Bitcoin goes down immediately or goes a little bit higher to trap some longs and then goes lower. Yep, and it did. Look, jump in sentiment here. So this is going to be filling institutions' limit sell orders as price goes down. And I'd say this looks pretty bearish. Okay, so let's see this dumpster fire of a market on Ethereum right now. Okay, so someone's mentioning the 688 for drawing Ethereum here. Let me do that. So you say that the 688 is good. So you say just doing it here, yeah. Well, I would do it here. Oh man, we're getting the bulls fighting back right there. Yeah, the 38.2 looks good to me, and the 61.8. The 38.2 though looks really good. I would say GDAX is probably the second best next to Bitfinex, but I wish I could trade on Bitfinex. Bitfinex is a great exchange, for sure. But they stopped allowing U.S. Customers, which is unfortunate. So, oh, I see what you're saying. You're drawing it so that the 688 is the 61.8. So like that. Okay. And this is previous resistance becoming future support. Yeah, that would make sense. If that does happen, if price goes this low, then I don't think there's enough demand for price to continue going up. I don't think price is going to go this low, and if it does, I think price probably won't go up. If anything, I would want to draw mine like this. And I can actually get some neat confluence zone if I draw it using this. Maybe we can get some overlap. No, not there. Yeah, I would say the 38.2 retracement on the longer term fib combined with the 61.8 would actually give a pretty good confluence zone. So let me draw that here. So the 38.2 is here and the 61.8 is here. So this is a spot that we could buy. I know it's very far away from price, but that's a good spot to buy right there. Oh man, yeah. It'd be interesting if in like the next few minutes that Ethereum went that low. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Sentiment. Yeah. Sentiment is not good. It's telling me that everyone's already bought. Yeah. All right, let's look at the supply run that we have here. So we had a demand run, supply run, short demand run, and now we have another supply run here with equilibrium, where no one's really in control. But again, it just all depends on Bitfinex and what Bitfinex is doing. So let's look at this here. Okay, we have I think I saw 1,000 offer wall. Yeah, 1,000 offer wall errors. That's crazy. I made a video on supply and demand runs. It's my most recent video. So basically what you want to look for are three things when determining a supply run or a demand run. So when price moves down, that's called a supply run. So these are demand runs in the short term, and these are supply runs. And a supply run is going to have three characteristics: a large offer wall that moves downward with price at the most current price. So you would see an offer wall of like 400 here, and then price continues to move down, and that continues to stay present. You would see not many bids. You would see not many bids down here, showing that there's not a lot of demand for price because there's high supply. And then you would see a lot of market selling as price is being market sold. And then the opposite would be true for a demand run. In a demand run, you would see a moving bid wall. So price would be moving up, or just what we had actually just seen with Ethereum was a pretty good example of a very powerful demand run. So they have a moving bid wall that presses price upward. They have a high market buying and not many offers. And when you actually replay this and watch the video later, you would notice that there just weren't that many offers. There wasn't that much supply as price was going upward. Not many traders were willing to limit sell. Many were just wanting to buy. So, and there's also spoofing, but I don't know if I want to get into spoofing as much. So that's what a supply and demand run is. And the basic strategy is you want to buy into supply runs and sell into demand runs. So let me show that here. When we look at Bitcoin, which just had this beautiful, crazy drop, thank God we didn't buy either of these coins. Because I actually entered 2 trades today, and they actually did go kind of well. So, but here, yeah. So this was a demand run, and then you have a supply run here that's clearly much more powerful. Okay, so I'm getting more exclamation points to check FUSD longs and shorts. Okay. Yeah, so if we actually get here, I'm very, very likely to buy. I'd say 82.3% likely to buy if price comes down to here, because that's just such high confluence. Okay, I'll look at longs and shorts here. Okay, we just got like a completely, what I expected. When price broke above resistance, the shorts just kind of gave up. They all got stopped out of their positions. See? Price went upward above resistance, and all these shorts had to have their stop losses hit. Not a great sign. This is a short squeeze. Not a great sign for an uptrend. Yeah. And then longs dropped as well, showing that a reversal was taking place. When longs and shorts drop, typically that will lead to a reversal. Okay, so we're beginning to see a bit of demand piling back into the market. Let's see just how much demand we get here. I think at this point, maybe Ethereum is just more following what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin, I'm not trading today. It's Ethereum that I might actually want to enter into trade. So this is what might actually happen. Let me say quickly here. We might actually go up to the 61.8. So this 720 up here, if price does go here, it might go lower. Oh yeah, good question. Britt Felsh, how long have you been trading? I've actually been doing this for 6 years. I invested in stocks and I traded stocks, and then I went to Forex trading just the Euro USD and the USD JPY. And then after that, I went into crypto. And general win-loss ratio, well, it honestly just varies per week. I don't have like an exact number, but I keep my risk reward pretty tight. So as long as my risk reward's where I want it to be, I have small losses and slightly larger gains, and that leads to an increase in the account. I started this account with 5K recently, and I've made a little bit, which is nice. But I do want to show back in my Back in my Forex trading days, I had this indicator that not many people knew about, and it's an online indicator. I think I want to show it. So this is actually how I began to really appreciate sentiment because of how well it works. So if there are any traders that here trade who trade a really good sentiment, then this is the way to go. If you go to fxssi.com, so fxssi.com is a Forex sentiment site, and I know like this is crypto only. This is breaching into like bad territory. But what you want to go to is tools, and there are a lot of phenomenal tools in here. The first one that you have is Pro Awanda. This tool tells you where traders' stop losses are. It tells you where traders on Awanda, on an exchange that trades Forex. It tells you where traders' stop losses are. It tells you where traders' limit orders are. It tells you everyone's traders. I mean, everyone's positions. So just how to interpret the Pro Awanda if like we're looking at USD JPY. So on the left, we have orders, and on the right, we have positions. So if we want to find where traders' stop losses are, then it's the blue. So whenever you see a lot of blue, then that will be the location of lots of stop losses. Because what this means is these are buy orders, these are sell orders. Buy orders above price would be stop orders. Sell orders below price would be stop loss orders, would be stop orders. So what happens is when price actually approaches one of these stop loss clusters, that's typically when price reacts very quickly and then moves the other direction. And that's how you can use FX. If you go to net, you can find one minus the other, and then if you find like a lot of blue at 110, a lot of traders put their stop losses at 110.05. And that just slight bit of information, I mean, that's pretty powerful for those who trade against traders' stop losses. And then there's some other great ones as well. My favorite being the profit ratio that I used to trade with all the time. So if you go to the profit ratio in USD JPY, this is the amount of profitable long positions and the profitable and short positions, and also the overall profitability of all traders within the exchange. So whenever this gets very, very high, so when this is like 97% of the market that is profitable are long, and only 3% of the market that is profitable is short, then this is a pretty good spot to short. And let me just show it. Percentage works here. It's in like Russian. But yes, you can just like see these patterns over time. When they get extreme, that's typically when you want to trade the other side of the trade. I use Datamish all the time, but I just wanted to show this one. And then trading activity and open interest are great too. So trading activity is going to show you the increase and decrease in positions. So whenever you see a large increase and a large decrease in positions, that's typically when you get a reversal. Price went down here. You see a large increase and a large decrease in positions, and then price went back up. Then we see a slightly smaller but rapid increase and decrease, and then price began to move down. Same here. A lot of we had plus 2% buyers, and price goes down. So that's just a really cool thing to do with if you ever want to trade Forex, which is what it is. You made it, Jonathan Peterson. You made it, dude. Congratulations. Okay, so this is datamish.com for those who don't know. Just an advanced look at. Well, actually, Jonathan, I didn't enter any trades because it's just been. If you watch the video after this, Ethereum just kind of went crazy. But we're gonna enter in here. When price goes down to here, I'm gonna buy. Pretty sure. And Bitcoin just been kind of being obnoxious. So yeah, so a new thing here is it's like going like crazy. Pain and Mana. To be honest, it's not. I mean, no shade on your uncles, the guy who took the time to create this, but I haven't really found much success using this. Well, I don't really want to enter Ethereum right now because sweaty blue. Ethereum. I mean, we've had one wave down. Maybe this is a one wave down continuation upward to trap retail longs. The only reason I might want to enter is if I see sentiment improving. Yeah, sentiment just spiking. It's like, yeah. I mean, you can make the case, oh, Bennett, you said that, you didn't want to enter, but price like went up to like infinity. But I mean, from my model here, it just looks like that it's more likely to move down when we get that spike in sentiment. I mean, that's just not great. So back to datamish.com here. Long short health. This is going to show us how many shorts are are not profitable, how many longs are not profitable in the current time frame, as you can see here. And mana, I think, would just be the opposite: how many shorts are profitable, how many longs are profitable. I mean, I don't really find it too reliable. The other one that I showed, the FX SSI site, is very reliable, but this one I don't find as so. But I did a video on how to use interest rates. I did a video on that. Percents are right too. All right, let's look at XRP because I actually do hold a position in XRP BTC. So for the 0.25 to 1 Bitcoin trading challenge, that's another kind of live stream that I do. That's a little bit more formal than this one, just Q&A and trading session and chill. And I'm holding a current position in XRP BTC from 91.61. Yeah, so I think I bought in like somewhere around here. Yeah, I bought it in 91.60 when I know that, so that's going well, which I'm happy about. But back to the important one here. I mean, my confluence zones haven't been hit yet, and Ethereum I'm still looking out for to crawl downward. But let's take a look at the supply and demand. Yeah, actually, I checked out EOS before, Jonathan. I think I did like an hour ago. I checked out EOS BTC. And I think I made a case of how we're at a 61.8. We might, if you see price come close above here, we'll probably go upward. So if price can actually get through some offer walls here and begin to pick up demand, price will likely continue moving upward in the short term. But in the medium term and long term, I said how it just doesn't look bullish. I mean, no, that was a different coin, I think. With EOS, you got like a beautiful 61.8, right? Just drawing like low to high here. Yeah, beautiful 61 right up to there. Touch the 61.8 and price goes down. So. But if you want to trade EOS, I mean, some things that you probably want to look out for are this obvious Fibonacci retracement. The 38.2 has been respected, but a third touch of the 38.2 is probably going to lead to a downtrend. Yeah, so all the streams are going to be available later, live, not live, but available later at your own leisure, as you can witness the pain of me not entering Ethereum as it just goes up like 5% or something like absurd like that. So yeah. But yeah, so what I was talking about with EOS, I think something that makes a ton of sense with a great confluence zone, which means high probability reversal, will be this. There's a confluence zone on EOS, 161.8 down to the 61.8 here. This trend looks like it's probably going to have some support at the 61.8. So I think if price can come down to here, it's probably a good spot to buy. MTH. I've never even heard of MTH. No offense to whoever created Monetha, if I even pronounced that right. A second channel, like for like more like live and like stuff like that. No, I just use all the same channel. I don't see any reason to change it. I have two different kinds of live streams though. I have my 0.25 Bitcoin trading challenge. That's like a formal challenge where I'm trading and constantly trading. And then I have this, which is just taking questions and trading on GDEX. Well, I would hope over the future that you are in the right place for learning the basics of trading. Is Ethereum mooning again? Doesn't look like Ethereum is mooning right now. Do you mean... Huh. Okay. Looks like we still have a bit of offer pressure, so I think a demand run could ensue if this goes away. If the bids go away and then we market still downward and we buy in. Yeah, and also, I mean, just you can learn on your own too. With the internet, with like scammers, a lot of that. Yeah, just be careful. Just be careful of the products you buy. Be careful of the things you hear, and just always just test out things yourself. That's why on my videos, I always just try to add theory into them because I know a lot of YouTubers just talk about this or just mention RSI. It's calculation how to use it, but I like to go a little bit farther, just talk about the theory, because I think that without theory, that a lot of things are just kind of useless, if that makes sense. So, I mean, you know, do your own due diligence, of course. It's all on you. Yeah, exactly. BitConnect, yeah. The BitConnect thing has gotten just so crazy. Like I've seen countless videos on that, um, and the people who are connected to it, and I think what's his name, John Oliver, did a segment on BitConnect too. I don't really. Is this like reverse trolling? Because Sweaty, you've been quite kind. Um, just all these comments are just like reverse trolling. It's hilarious. Cool. So you said you made money on it, lol. So you made money on the trade that we were talking about before. Cool. Okay. So okay. I'm getting like a lot of comments here. I'm gonna take one at a time. Uh, so if you want to build a CVD indicator in TradingView, what you're gonna need to do is have a connection to the exchange, not a connection to TradingView. Maybe a connection to TradingView, but what's more important would be taking a look at the exchange. So if you get exchange data from Bitfinex from their WebSocket, or maybe it wouldn't be their WebSocket, but you'd have to CVD is a very simple calculation. You would just backtest all of market buys and market sells in their order history, and you would do a running total of their market buying and market selling, and you'd have CVD. Yeah. You showed your account that you started recently at 5K. How much your total account value do you use to take a position? I use, as crazy as it is, I use all of my position. I did a video on risk management. Because basically you don't want to risk more than like 1 or 2%. So if you have a stop loss at 1% and you enter with your entire position, if you hit your stop loss, that's a 1% loss. So it's just kinds of things like that, that will balance out your risk. There are other ways too, and I made a video on the risk management one that I've mentioned, where you can use the Kelly criterion to try to portion off a part of your account to trade with higher volatility. But I like to trade lower volatility stuff. So yeah, what do we got here? Wait, like wise man, he's trying to ride your coattails. Could you use the long shorts fee from Bitfinex on TradingView? What do you mean by that? It's on TradingView here. It's like it's one of the. It's not built in, but it's one of the creative ones here. Yeah. Oh, so we got a drop in sentiment. So okay, that's interesting. Retail just got out of this market, so this I should have seen that, but I was like answering questions. But retail dropping out. I mean, this is looking for at least a 61.8 retracement, potentially higher, because retail dropped. Let's look at CVD. Did CVD change? No, it didn't. Okay, that's not good. Yeah, it's still just a lot of market buying. I'm not buying into Bitcoin here. Ethereum, though, we were talking about that 61.8 that might be hit. Yep. So I just mentioned like 10 minutes ago, if you rewind, that the 61.8 was likely to be hit, and then price might go downward. Okay. So let me see here. Just try this. What do you think about Binance? I mean, I think Binance is a fine exchange. I have an account on it. Don't really use it as much. Yeah, Ethereum is at 720, but it also is at the 61.8 here, as you can see. And if we look at here, I mean, honestly, the order book is going to reveal whether price continues moving upward or whether there's enough supply to press price back down. And looking at, it looks like we're getting a bit of supply here, but let's take a look at Ethereum on here. Looks like equal. And if this stays equal for a long amount of time, then price will likely go down because it's going to shrivel up the demand. So, all right, so I got a super chat, so I'm definitely going to stop what I'm doing and just talk about that. Price might begin to move down. What few indicators to use for beginners? Well, the good and bad thing about trading is that there's a gazillion indicators that you could use. And I mean, it all depends on what you want to trade based off. But if you're a beginner, you're probably going to, and not even a beginner who doesn't even want to try to use bias, triggers, and execution, I guess you could just use MFI. So let me actually just show MFI on the screen. It's also called money flow. So MFI is a great indicator for beginners, as you can see here. And these are my settings for MFI. I just use F1480, 80-20, as you can see here. So what this shows us is we typically want to buy when MFI goes below 20. That's oversold. And we want to sell when MFI goes overbought, above 20. You sell here. MFI is above 80. You buy here. MFI is below 20, right here. And you would sell here. And then maybe buy back in here. You would sell here because right, MFI goes overbought. And then you would have to buy back. You would have to buy back in at this tip. You buy back in this tip. MFI is great. I mean, honestly, guys, beginners who want to trade, MFI is really the way to go. Yeah, I mean, another opportunity here. MFI is oversold. You buy here. MFI is oversold again. Another opportunity to buy. This would not be a great opportunity, but you wouldn't have too much. You'd have a bit of a loss. Not that bad of a loss. Buy here. Yeah, I've done 3 videos on MFI, so not a new concept for me. You can combine. I made a video combining MFI and MACD. I made a video combining MFI and Heiken Ashi, and no, MFI is different than RSI. MFI is a money flow version of RSI. So it basically looks at either an up move or a down move and then adds the volume to it. So you can look up the money flow calculation. But one popular way of trading MFI, and I made this into a video because I had seen that this is a good way to trade. You use MFI, but you use Heiken Ashi. God, I probably just butchered that beautiful Japanese. Is it like Heiken Ashi? Heiken Ashi? Heiken Ashi? Ashi? Oh my God. I don't know how to pronounce it. We need like some Japanese viewer here to help me out on that pronunciation. So MFI Heiken Ashi is a pretty good way to trade too. So this is going to segregate the market on momentum, where you get consistent red or consistent green with looking at Heiken Ashi. And oversold here, you'd buy. But the video that I made, and you guys can check this out on my channel, the MFI Heiken Ashi, is you buy the first green candle after MFI is oversold. You sell the first red candle when MFI is overbought. So let's go here. MFI is overbought. We look for the first red candle, we sell. We sell here. MFI is overbought. We're not selling here. We're going to sell here. First red candle. MFI is oversold. I don't want to buy here. I'm going to buy here, first green candle. MFI is overbought. You'd actually unfortunately sell here, I have to be honest. You'd want to sell here, but you're bought, or you would have sold there. You should have sold there. You would have bought here. You would have sold green. The first red would have been there. So yeah, this is using MFI Heiken Ashi is a great way to trade for beginners. So that's my long answer to your question that you had with the super chat. So I think I got a lot more questions here. Like, I'm not gonna be able to answer all these because I do have to go soon. And too bad that we couldn't enter into Ethereum after its like insane rise. So it's gonna be a trading session, but with no trading, but just a session. It looks like price just hit a 61.8 here, and that's what we were just talking about. I'd said that price was at the 61.8. It might go down now. Yeah, I would say that price breaks this high and breaks above 78.6. That's a pretty good bullish sign. But I think that we might get something like this. And let me just show it. The 1.618 of this would be 705. So down here. How do you feel about trading bots? Be very careful with trading bots, because I hear a lot of people who just think that they're printing money. But there's actually a good chance that you might even trade better trading by yourself than with a bot. Some HFTs, imagine this analogy. Imagine that they're shark and fish, and the fish are the retail trading bots that have simple coded technical analysis coded into them, and the sharks the HFTs, high frequency traders. And these high frequency traders know exactly what the retail traders are doing with their RSI oversold, overbought, EMA crossover kind of retail trader bots. They know where they're going to buy. They know where they're going to sell, and they're going to put their limit orders accordingly to get that liquidity. So the sharks are really just going to eat the fish there, you know. So just be very careful how you code your bot, because it's not printing money, nowhere close. If you can find a bot that uses a strategy that works, then yeah, great. Using technical analysis, that's great. But yeah, definitely constantly fine tune that bot and constantly try to change around the parameters, because just a simple bot that doesn't change, yeah, that might not go so well. Okay, so I said if we can see a confident break of 78.6, then price would likely continue going higher. Let's see. Lazy Bear is OBV. I think, isn't that one just an easier to look at OBV? Yeah, I'm not gonna look at that one now, but I've seen that one before. Okay, so we have an interesting amount. Let's just look at the supply and demand here. Again, supply just looks weak. Before I said it looked like moderately strong, but it was just weak. I mean, like, look at this. Just not a lot of supply. Here, about equal, right? No change, equilibrium. Okay, so we're getting a 61.8 retracement, looks like. Let's see if this one holds. Okay, I think I'm going to take one more question. What's the best indicator for scalping the 5 minute? That's what someone asked and I never answered. If you want to scalp the 5 minute, I would say, first of all, probably you just want to trade major USD coins like BTCUSD, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum. You could try to trade altcoins, but I mean, if you trade GDAX, you can trade it with no fees using limit orders. So what you could do, and I just showed this, is you could use MFI if you're a beginner. That's also called money flow. And you could just combine money flow with Heikin-Ashi, which my Midwestern accent pronounced probably terribly last time. So you can just buy, I made a video on this and I've already talked about MFI, Heikin-Ashi, but this is a good way that you could scalp the 5 minute if you want to trade at the 5 minute window. Other than MFI, what do you recommend for beginners? If you want to go a little bit more advanced, you could use the average true range, the ATR. This is going to be a measure of volatility, and you're going to want to use this kind of like how you use volume. You can use it in a lot of ways, but ATR spikes, you could try to enter into an ATR spike, so when the volatility spikes, you take the other side of the trade. That's one thing that you could do. But someone also mentioned PRS, Pivot Reversal Strategies. Let me show that. I know this is probably my most popular indicator from my videos that I made. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so let's look at what PRS would have done on the 5 minute here. So the PRS would have sold you, would have bought you here and sold you here. MFI, you type in money flow for those who don't know. MFI is just money flow on TradingView. So PRS, I mean, you could try to do it in the 5 minute, but I'd recommend going a little bit higher time frame. This is what pivot reversal strategy would have bought you in. 20% a day. Wow. You made 20% a day on pivot reversal strategy. That's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, man, like if you look here, like it would have bought you in here. If you use a bot or just follow it, it would have already had you in a good trade here. It would have shorted you here and bought you in right back there. Would have bought you in here with a small loss here. Actually, not so much a small loss. You would have bought here and then, yeah, sold there. Bought here, sold there. Let's look at the list of trades. You'd have made a 3.89% profit, 5.87, 16.32, 2.42, 0.03 loss. Any big losses here? No. 1.43% loss, 0.78% loss. You would have had a string of losses with pivot reversal strategy here. Yeah. So these are just some trades that go well, some trades that don't go well. This is just pivot reversal strategy at its finest. You know, performance summary, it would have made you this much over a long period of time. So it's PRS. But yeah, it would have bought you in here for a nice 3% gain. Demand index. Is it a demand index? Is one of the questions. Let's check that out because I've actually never even heard of the demand index. No one's messaged me about that. So I'm going to check out what this looks like. First, let's use a little bit prettier. Black here. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. It oscillates around a zero line, goes positive and negative. Yeah. Thank you, MF Gallery, for joining. So what we're looking at right here is this 61.8 price barrier. I drawn this before, but price just went up to that 61.8 Fibonacci retracement. It's having a hard time breaking it. Let's take a look at the, of course, supply and demand. Oh my God, look at that. For Ethereum, the amount of demand. Actually, I do look at volume profile all the time, Reese Reynolds. I just didn't show it today, but I use it. I use it a ton, and I might do that soon. BTCUSD. Ooh, okay. This could be a supply run. If this breaks, then supply is going to overtake demand, and price is going to go lower. So that's why price might be having a hard time breaching the 61.8 because price might begin to. Immediately when I say price is about to go lower, the minute I say lower, price is like, nope, 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 nope. Time to go up, man. Time to go up. All right, let's see if this wall pulls. But it seems like it's actually still holding on GDAX. Yeah, I see a spring on the 1 hour Bitcoin too. We'll have to see how this turns out. If this immediately closes back here, then it'd probably be bearish. Okay, this time I actually had, okay, this time was a bit better because I had actually just said price closing down here, and then like it materialized in front of my eyes. So that was okay. That was kind of cool. That's forgiving me for my previous two 61.8 Fibonacci mistakes. That was kind of funny. Price immediately went down when I said it was going to go down. Win some, lose some. Okay, so this is beautiful. What just happened? The 61.8 became resistance here, and we had high supply. So if you guys remember, we had that large limit ask order, and then price went down like this. Boom. I mostly use RSI, MACD, MFI, and Bollinger's. RSI stopped being as lucky after a while. Well, first, Jonathan, I would say we don't want to use the words lucky when we talk about trading. That's a bit of a taboo kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there's variance in trading, but luck isn't really a part of it. It's the intersection of experience, variance, and just, maybe you could say a little bit of luck. But okay, so you said, okay, but to evaluate your indicators, RSI, MACD, MFI, and Bolgers, that's a lot of trigger indicators. You're not using any bias indicators. You're not using any execution indicators. So you might want to change it up and actually use a bias indicator like sentiment or order flow, or an execution like Fibonacci's or support resistance to give your strategy a bit of a blend. I used to be a big fan of RSI, but then it just, I don't know, I just stopped using RSI so much, and I just stopped using trigger indicators about a year ago anyway. But let's do, yeah, it was mentioned before. I think that's actually a pretty good idea. Let's just do a volume profile analysis. And let me show you guys how I do my volume profile. You could do visible range volume profile, and that would look like this. I know the volume profile is just so pretty. So that's the visible range, but yeah, I mean, lucky, accurate predictions, but there's variance in your predictions. So I wouldn't really call that luck, but high probability. If you can consistently take high probability trades, you're not getting lucky. You're just playing the odds over time. So I don't like to use visible range volume profile, and that one didn't really help out too much. Let me use fixed range here. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to do a volume profile analysis of Ethereum on the current uptrend. So let's isolate here to here. It's like tiny. Great. Okay. Did it vanish? Okay, so I think the fixed range was just not drawn with enough data. That's fine. I'll draw mine over here then. I'll use the consolidation zone. Starting the consolidation, I'll start it. I think consolidation started here. Okay, that's better. All right, so when we are looking at this, let me turn on the other two. Okay, perfect. So we have the volume profile set up, and now it looks disgusting. Actually, not perfect. Never mind. So we have this support level. This becoming likely future support. This is the top portion of the value area. This is known as the value area high of the volume profile, where the higher part of the normal distribution of volume is located. And it's also at previous resistance, so this looks like actually a really good buying opportunity for volume profile. Around 695 to 700. Also, if we do breach 700, that's going to hit many long stop losses who put their stop loss at like 698, 699. A lot of market selling to probably institutions around this level. So yeah, I would say that this is likely support to around here. However, to go on the flip side, if price does actually end up making a V reversal and go this low, that would not be bullish at all. So, but yeah, but I think volume profile wise, that this makes the most sense. I can't really see price going back to the HVN down here, the point of control, because if it does, it would have to cut through previous resistance, and typically uptrends have previous resistance becoming future support, so this resistance becoming support. We'd have to see that, and if this gets broken, we're probably just going to go lower. So it's volume profile. Am I a fan of ICOs? Ever consider doing else? Okay. Okay, I will say this before I go on ICOs. I would say about 1 to 2 emails a day on doing ICO reviews. I'm not going to do them. I know a lot of other YouTube channels do ICO reviews, and some of them are good, some of them are bad. But with my channel, I'm not doing ICO reviews. I'm not doing those kinds of things. I'm just gonna do my strategy, just do my predictions, stuff like this, and just continue doing that for the rest of time, or until crypto, I don't know, does something interesting. CCI, yeah, the Commodity Channel Index. CCI is a funny indicator because the name is so misleading. It's called the CCI, Commodity Channel Index, but it actually has nothing to do with commodities. So I can actually show that one here. I think it was created for commodities, and that's why. The Commodity Channel Index. But it's good. It's definitely a good... I'm not active in Forex anymore. No, I left that market 2 years ago. CCI is a good indicator, as you can see here. I'm not going to go like deep into CCI because I want to talk about other stuff, but I don't publish charts. Not really my thing. I just would rather do videos and live analysis where I can like show stuff quickly and not have to like draw and type out stuff because that's not fun. Do you trade lower volume, high volatility coins? No, I do not. Whenever I trade altcoins for my 0.25 Bitcoin trading challenge, again, just get rich slowly, not die a painful death of minus 60% in 10 minutes. Luckily, I have not had that experience yet. So that's why I like to trade large market cap coins like XRP, BTC, FBTC, LTC, BTC, some medium cap coins like BTS, BTC, and stuff like that. I actually don't use as many trend lines as some others do. I know some people like diagonal trend lines, like something like this, but I don't use it as much. So it looks like we hit that 78.6 retracement, and now we're having very bearish behavior. And I think I might actually have to buy this off stream because I'm going to be going soon. Do I believe that crypto will eventually turn to a Forex relative volatility? Well, it depends on if crypto is regulated or not. If crypto is regulated, then well, Forex is unregulated to some extent. It's unregulated. Potentially, just the issue with trading Forex for me was that the market makers just make up so much money with Forex, and I found it easier to trade crypto than Forex anyway. So, all right. So yeah, before I go, that is a great question. I do have to go soon. Unfortunately, couldn't get any trades into Ethereum or Bitcoin, but I'm kind of glad I didn't trade into Bitcoin, and I'm because this just does not look good. We're trapping longs by going higher. Probably going to go lower soon. And Ethereum, I mean, I'm disappointed I didn't get in, but there was no retracement for me to even buy into Ethereum, so I'm not really mad at myself for that or disappointed. But about the Fibonacci thing that I'm creating, I've actually been working on that this past week. That's why I'm trying to get this office space. So that it's currently at 200 pages. It's being cut down to a more manageable extent. So for those who don't know, I'm currently writing a Fibonacci course guide that is taking, Fibonacci's, teaching different strategies of how to use them, different kinds of market shapes that occur when Fibonacci's get hit, and then also how to trade with them and even how to put stop losses with them too. So yes, that'll be out probably in I would say that the Fibonacci stuff is probably going to be out in like a week or 2 weeks. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to be sometime in the future, and I'm going to make a video for that and release that product. So yeah, so I'm going to be signing off, guys. Final predictions, like I said, I think Bitcoin, I think we're going to have to go a little bit lower first. Ethereum just looks bullish, honestly. This is a confluence zone that's possible. But besides that, I mean, Ethereum just looks bullish. But yeah, I had a good time. Wish you consider doing a book on all the different tools. No, I'm not going to do a book on all the different tools. But yeah, and for those curious, again, I'm going to be creating that Fibonacci course guide over the next few days. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Yeah. And then after that, after the Fibonacci guide, I mean, we'll see what I do. Maybe I'll work on some other kind of project to release. But yeah, I'm getting more into going more into depth about certain projects, like creating a guide or creating something like this just to get better content and stuff. So, all right, I'm signing off, guys, and yeah, have a good night. Thank you for joining me.